Hey everyone, this week we're going further into a perspective than we did last week. Last week we just did boxes and how to use them to draw things in perspective, but this week we're actually taking a bigger step into perspective, which is just 1-point perspective drawing. So, and the different things that I see beginners doing and that what professional artists do that beginners don't do, which would really help in improving a person's artwork. So the first thing I want to talk about before putting our first steps into first point perspective is drawing using the eye line instead of the horizon line. So whenever people usually talk about the horizon line, we're talking about the natural horizon line of where the sky meets the floor or the sky meets the ocean. But what artists usually use when drawing is the eye line. So wherever, if a person's just looking straight, what they see below that line and what they see above that line. So in the background video that you'll be watching, I'm just basically drawing the same object in higher and higher eye lines. So the first one, I basically did a normal like person just standing a little far off. So I drew my building using my basic shapes. All the forms in this example are just basic shapes, so cube, cylinder, sphere, and cone. And I'm using those to represent a building, trees, and like I forgot the name of it, but I'll just call it a tower for now. It's the cylinder. So first I just did a straight normal eye line, and then I did a bird's eye view. So at this point the eye line is higher than the building and the trees. So everything just, so when I draw that in perspective, all my perspective lines are going towards the eye line and not like the actual horizon. And now in this third one, I'm going even higher than that, where the perspective lines, you can see that the lines that go towards a point is more warped when compared to the top one and the one above that. The one above that, the lines are going downwards, while the ones where the eye is higher, it's going upwards towards the eye line. And now here's our first example. It's a basic perspective drawing that everyone starts out with. I draw a line, I put my point right in the middle, and I draw these lines all going towards that point, and I connect the lines to make a wall. My vertical lines are always going to be straight up and down, and my horizontal lines are always going to be straight left to right, while I have these diagonal lines that go towards the point to indicate walls, and in this case a table. After that, I started to do a study from a professional artist's work. So the scene is a vertical image of a few people in a scene. The reason why I picked it is because it has good first 1-point perspective, so all the walls and everything go towards the 1 point. And then there's also characters in 1-point perspective, so it also shows you how people draw characters in scale in a scene, right? So my pencil's really short, so my hand's blocking a good amount, but I found a solution for that for future videos. But as you can see, first I just blocked in like the walls of the scene first, where you can see the left wall and the right wall. And now I'm drawing my first character right at the foreground. First I messed up, and then I just tried to use my basic forms to get a better version of it. And I'm also drawing all the way to the bottom of where the character's feet is, even though that's not in the frame. The reason why I'm drawing that is so I can actually find the heights of the characters more correctly. So at this point I'm thinking of that foreground character as a block, and then every character in the background is just going to be another like square, like rectangular person that follows the perspective. So I draw a line from the character back to my 1 point in my perspective drawing, and I'm drawing characters based on like within those guidelines. This next one is a good example of using 1-point perspective to show where a person should focus. So you don't always have to keep your your point right at the center of the image. It could be to the left, to the right, wherever you want the viewer to look when you're drawing. So as you can see here, I'm using that to draw the walls and this railing on the side, and just because I followed the 1-point perspective, my vertical lines look correct to size as they go further and further back into the space. And I'm using that same technique for the other side of where there's like a brick wall, showing and I'm putting my guidelines going towards the 1 point to show like where the bricks would fall and stuff like that. In the scene, there's a character right in the middle, which is why I talk about using the 1 point as a focal point, because the point that everything is going towards is exactly where the character is, which is where the artist wants you to look. So and that's about it. Even the floor, I'm just going straight directly to the character. And this one is pretty straightforward. The background, it wasn't in 1 point perspective. It was just a few clothes on a clothing line and like a silhouette of a city. So like I really like this picture because it's so simple, but it looks like it's very clear in what it's trying to show. This next one, the point is higher, so or your eye line is higher to show that you're like a little bit above what we're looking at, right? So like if a person's standing, that's kind of what this scene kind of has. It's a person standing looking towards a character in a bed. So it's also an interior, so I'm drawing those walls first to indicate where the walls are, and I'm putting my bed using the 1 point as my guideline for how far out it's going to go. I'm also making sure to use my basic shapes and drawing through just to make sure that everything looks correct proportionally. But otherwise, I'm also adding some foreground elements, but that's about all I practiced this week, which it was just a few copies of professional artist drawings in 1 point perspective. Next week, we're going to go into 2 point perspective. Thanks. Bye.